On to our main speaker. Here with us tonight is someone who literally travels the world on a regular basis to protect your rights. Not just locally, not just where he lives, not just in the state, not just in the nation, but worldwide. Where he gets his energy from, I have no idea. He runs the premier independent Second Amendment organization in the United States, without question. And with here tonight, and I think this is the only speaking engagement he's had in California this year, he's with us. Please give a very warm welcome, Mr. Alan Gottlieb.
Thank you. It's really great to be back with you, and tonight is all special nights, because if I weren't with all you patriots in this room tonight, I'd probably be at home watching Hillary Clinton accept the nomination for president from the un-American Party. What is she doing here too? Yeah. So I'm really glad to be with you. And I don't know, I leave here, my next stop is Massachusetts, where I guess you've all seen what's going on in Massachusetts, where the Attorney General, by fiat, has decided to virtually make any semi-automatic firearm an assault rifle weapon and ban it. So I don't know if I'm going out of the fire into the frying pan, or out of the frying pan into the fire. But boy, I'll tell you, and I can't be with you on your barbecue on the 20th of August, because I'll be on an airplane to Geneva, Switzerland for the next meeting of the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty. Well, the nation's meeting to try to implement it. And I'll be there trying to throw spokes in the wheel to stop it from being implemented. Just because they've got it passed by the United Nations doesn't mean that it gets implemented, mainly because it has to get funded, it needs staffing and people to run it. And so far, they've already had one meeting to do that, which was actually in Cancun, Mexico, that I was at. And we pretty much screwed up things for them for a year. So now they're coming back year 2, and they're still on square 1. And we're going to try and make sure they stay on square 1 for year 3, and nothing gets implemented. Nothing really gets implemented, even though they have it, because everything has to be done by consensus, so to speak, or used to be done by consensus in the United Nations that way. The Arms Trade Treaty is actually written a little differently, so they don't really need a consensus. Now what they need is a majority of the states or countries that signed on to it. So since we didn't sign on to it, the United States doesn't have a vote. So while the United States will be represented there, we're sort of in observer status. So people from ATF and the State Department, and UN representatives being there, can talk, but they can't vote. And we'll be there to help try and screw things up. I'm involved with the International Association for Protection of Civilian Arms Rights, and we have, I think, 36 group organizations in 23, 24 countries around the world. And we'll have lots of delegates there working on state delegations, trying to mess things up for them. We were successful in Cancun this past year, and we hope to do it again. So have fun at your barbecue while I have to deal with a bunch of anti-gun delegates from various nations like Uganda and Cuba and Venezuela and Iran who don't like our freedom values to start with. And so I'd much rather be with you again. Remember too, just remember now, if Hillary Clinton ever becomes president, let's hope she doesn't, we can remember that we were together here as patriots the night she accepted that nomination, and just remember in your mind, we were together at least working for freedom and trying to push the agenda forward for, people's individual liberty. On the national scene, obviously, Congress is in a, quagmire. It's everything is stalled. It's gridlock, which is good for us to the extent that the anti-gunners can't push their prohibition agenda, but at the same time, it means we can't, further firearms freedom federally either. The other side, knowing that, of course, we've seen over the last few years, they've taken their battle to the states. And I just did a couple interviews, one with the Wall Street Journal and one with, I don't know what to call it, it's not MSNBC anymore, but it's the Microsoft side of it for their news source on the internet. And the anti-gunners have put out a bunch of news releases about how they're beating it, clobbering us and killing us on the state level. And of course, they're really not. Because for every law that they get passed, we get 2 or 3 passed that actually extend gun rights someplace. The problem is it doesn't help you in places like California or Massachusetts or Maryland or New Jersey or New York. There's like a handful of 6 states where we have problems in, but in virtually all the other states, we actually win the battles and extend our freedom. The other side likes to ignore the fact that sometimes we win, and they only want us to talk about when we lose and how they beat the gun lobby. They don't win most of the time. Our problem is, like I've always told people before, is this is like a football game where the rules have been changed. Doesn't matter how many points we score, they score 1 touchdown, we lose our rights. And that's the problem with this battle and why we're always on the defensive. And this year we've been on the defensive a whole lot more than I like. I like to be on offense and further our rights. And it hasn't been too friendly and too much fun this year, mainly because Bloomberg and a handful of other billionaires have put in tens and tens of billions of dollars into the battle against us all across the country. And you're going to see some of that here in the initiatives coming on the ballot. It's going to be very heavily funded. You'll see how much money comes in from out of state, even though there's a number of anti-gun billionaires in California that is funding it as well. That and the fact that, unfortunately for us, a lot of the incidents that happened over the past year on mass shootings and terrorist attacks, the other side demonizing guns and media helping them push it, agenda-driven media pushing it, polling data has really shifted for the first time for us now in probably the last 4 or 5 years, or since Newtown. We were underwater a bit after Newtown. 6 months later, we were back in the polling data where we were, at record highs again for gun rights. We're not today, which is why the Democrats overall have come out so quickly and willing to now, play with proposals where they know in the past, it cost them control of when they passed this Alton ban under Bill Clinton, they lost control of Congress. Al Gore lost the presidency over the issue. Right now, polls ebb and flow. Right now, they're sitting at the best level against us they've been in a long time. Between the politicians and the Democratic Party pushing the gun prohibition agenda and their friends in the media, we are really under an assault. And so we are really playing defense for the first time in a while. We're also playing defense on the court level. As Don Kilmer mentioned, I really want to thank Don Kilmer for everything he's done in California. He's at the point of our spear in defending gun rights in the state and doesn't get a lot of credit for what he does, because the legal stuff is the only way we're going to win. But as he pointed out, and the Second Amendment Foundation is very, very proud to have funded his cases that he's working on for us, which he talked about. So I won't get into those because he's already covered those. But boy, let me tell you, that money from the foundation that was spent getting Don to do this stuff is money really well spent. Thank you, Don. I hope you're still in the room back there. You are. So again, we're also playing a little defense in the courts right now because 8 years of Obama appointing anti-gun judges, believe me, is taking its toll. We very seldom, if ever, get a Democrat-appointed judge ruling our way, to the point that it really is almost embarrassing. If you read their opinions, either in when they beat us in the majority or in their dissents in the minority, they're really either in your face obnoxious or they pretend the case was about something else, to the point that it's not even intellectually honest at all. If Hillary Clinton gets into the White House, 4 more years of appointing these judges and this courthouse door is slammed in our face, period. And we're having, Don talked about how we have to now watch what cases we're filing because things moving up and down to the Supreme Court. It's not just the Supreme Court, but in many circuits, the appeals courts are pretty much shutting in our face as well. And it's a real problem for us right now. We have about a half a dozen, or a little over half a dozen, really key cases that the Second Amendment Foundation wants to fund and bring. But we're holding back on the actions right now because we don't know what's going to happen where the courts are. And we don't want to put cases, even if they're good cases, important cases, we don't want to push things right now that might set bad precedents where we can rule by man rather than rule by law. And so it's really a scary time for us because we've really invested lots of time and effort for decades now to get to where we are. and all of a sudden we're running up against a brick wall a little bit. Now, Don mentioned, we know, for example, like coming out of the Ninth Circuit, if this circuit rules against us, appealing to the Supreme Court right now is a toughie, because if it turned out to be a 4-4 decision, the Ninth Circuit ruling against us would hold. Now, it also plays to our favor to some extent. It would have been better, of course, if it was a 5-4, if Scalia was still there. But we've got some cases like coming out of the Fifth Circuit, the one that we won with regard to interstate sales of handguns, being legal, knocking out the part of the '68 Gun Control Act that says you can't do that. We won that case, and one of our concerns is that might end up going up to the Supreme Court as well. But in that case, if it's 4-4, our decision would stand. So it depends what circuit you're in, and now we can't play the game where we file cases in circuits that aren't friendly, knowing the Supreme Court could overturn or overrule and set us a national precedent at the same time. That right now we're a little bit locked in right now until we see what happens and smoke clears after the November election. So I just want to talk about legal cases a little bit. We have a couple really cool ones that we just won, and some of them that are just recently filed. In total, we have about 30 federal cases right now that state Nation is involved in that are currently ongoing, which is an awful lot of case management to the point that I can't even remember the names of all the cases or the captions, I'll be honest. Just really glad our attorneys keep track of the deadlines for all the case filings. But one that's we just won, which made a lot of press nationally, was the Mariana Islands, which was the last state or territory in the United States that absolutely had a ban on handguns, an outright ban, and we won. And the Mariana Islands, in that case, asked the judge to reconsider, and she said no and slammed the door in their face. And we thought they were going to appeal that to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. They realized that they didn't have a winning case, and so instead they changed the law, made it fairly draconian anyway, which we are going to challenge the new law there, but we have to wait for some dust to settle. But in the interim, a school district in the Mariana Islands, a school board, went back to the trial judge and made a motion to intervene for the purposes of allowing them so they could appeal to the Ninth Circuit. She ruled no, so they appealed it all to the Ninth Circuit anyway. They don't have any real grounds to get involved or engage in the case. Their arguments are that somebody might use one of these guns in the future and do some damage in the school, but that isn't a reason to allow them to come in to intervene in the case and overturn the law on constitutional grounds that the plaintiff, or the defendant, who was the Mariana Islands, chose not to appeal. And so they've now appealed that to the Ninth Circuit. If it was not a gun case, we wouldn't have, the Ninth Circuit would say, no, we're never hearing this case. You don't have a right to intervene in it no matter what. But again, as like Don Kilmer mentioned, this is a gun case. When it's a gun case, people view things differently. However, this is so frivolous that we're pretty well convinced the Ninth Circuit's going to say to them, take a walk and no, and we're going to then turn around and file for damages for frivolous appeal. The school district had no right to file it to start with. We've got a case we just filed a week or so ago in Illinois, where a place we've been very, very successful. Going back to Chicago, we down to Chicago and took out the Chicago handgun ban and incorporated the Second Amendment to all 50 states, going all the way to the Supreme Court to do it, which allowed us to file a lot of these cases that we've got going on now. We also beat them with a case, put the Zell, called the Zell 1 for a minute, where they banned gun ranges in the city of Chicago, and we overturned that. Then Moore versus Madigan, where we knocked out the ban on carry, that couldn't carry a firearm for self-protection, we knocked that out as well. Well, they now have this law that if you want to be a foster parent or adopt a child in Illinois, you really can't have a functional firearm in your home. So it has to be locked up, unloaded, ammunition locked up someplace else, or taken out of the house and certified to the state that you don't have the gun on your premises, allowing them to come in any time, 24 hours, 7 days a week, to search your house, make sure you don't have a firearm in it.
And that's working out pretty good in Chicago, huh?
Yeah. So we filed suit against Illinois on that. We have a similar suit like that filed, believe it or not, in Oklahoma that has the same kind of regulation. And we've discovered that Tennessee has a regulation like that on the books, and we're very shortly be filing a similar case like that in Tennessee as well. That's moving it into a slightly different direction on gun rights. But it's really very great with sympathetic, plaintiffs. In the Illinois case, we have a family that I think they've had 7 or 8 foster children over time, a current one that they're planning on adopting, and the family, aside from being very familiar with firearms and owning firearms, the husband in the family is a firearm safety instructor with years and years of training, and obviously, he's also trained over 500 children on how to shoot firearms safely in his career, and so it's a great plaintiff for us, somebody who does stuff good for the community, works with children. They've had a long track record of foster care, and now the state's intervening on their adoption of one of these foster children. So we're having fun with that one. And of course, we've got lots of cases on carry, still going on around the country in places, particularly in Washington, D.C. And there's a number of them, and we're getting ready as well to file a case, which I really can't talk about too much, but in Massachusetts, over what the Attorney General of Massachusetts just did. And I believe that case is going to be have joint plaintiffs to it that will include the 2 major local groups in the state of Massachusetts, along with the NRA and the National Youth Sports Foundation, and we'll all be joint plaintiffs on one suit, which doesn't happen very often. In fact, it's only happened one other time. So where you get the Industry Trade Association, NRA, and the Secretary Federation all together as plaintiffs. And that's really great because in these days right now, we all really got to hang together and work together. So that's a good thing to report to you. Let me move this on to the election cycle here. I think I've gone through a little bit the international scene with the UN. I've talked about, DC. We've talked about legal. We've talked about what's happening in some of the states a bit. The elections, and again, we're all on pins and needles. We're all looking at polling data that goes up and down. It's a kind of scary time right now. My biggest concern is the Republicans keeping control of the United States Senate. And in that regard, things are starting to move a little bit more in a direction right now, but it's still a long day till Election Day. In Florida, we got very lucky with Marco Rubio deciding that, okay, I will run for re-election, which right now looks like that seat will be held, where if he wasn't running, that would have been a lost seat. If the Republicans lose 3 seats, we're in trouble if the Democrats control the White House and then have Vice President casting the tie-breaking votes for organization in the Senate. That's a plus. And what's interesting is in right now in Nevada, for Harry Reid, who's retiring. Right now, that seat, the Republican challenger, is running ahead to take Harry Reid's seat, which would be a pickup seat. We're definitely going to lose the Republican in Illinois, Mark Kirk, but he's not a friend of gun owners anyway. But for organizational purposes, it's important to make sure the Republicans are in control. That seat's going to be lost. So now maybe say we're even. And the other key seats where there were problems was Toomey in Pennsylvania, and he's holding on right now in polling data. If the election were held today, he would win. And likewise, Rob Portman in Ohio, in a battleground state, if the election were held today, he'd win. One of the other key critical seats is Senator Ayotte in New Hampshire, and that one is like a dead heat. So it could win, it could lose, but that would still give the Republicans control. And in a few other places where things look pretty bad, they're shoring up where the Republicans are that were in states that Barack Obama carried, as an example, are holding on. So if the election were held today, we'd hang in there, either be down 1 or be even, and things would be okay for controlling the Senate. The House isn't going to flop. If the Republicans were to lose some seats there, it still wouldn't change control. And I'm not sure how many seats they really will lose right now. If the election were held today, it might be okay. And if you look at some polling data out there right now, you'll see things that were on generic polling for Congress. Democrats are running 2.5 points ahead. Those polls don't mean anything because that's a national average. It's not by congressional district. So as an example, in downtown San Francisco, Democratic Congressman there is going to win by a lot more than 2.5 points. Same thing in Los Angeles or New York City. So those, if you take out the really safe Democrat districts out of the polling data, Republicans aren't doing as badly as those polls would show. So nationally, it doesn't really impact anything. And on a district by district basis, we're hanging in there. So far that's okay. I had a very large concern that Donald Trump was going to be such a drag on the ticket, on the Republican ticket, that it would take a lot of these senators down with him. Right now, that does not appear to be happening, and that's a good sign. Which brings us to the presidential race itself. And we've done our own polling data, and what's interesting is that 86% of gun owners are going to vote for Donald Trump. That isn't so great. Okay, 86. 6% are going to vote for Hillary Clinton. 8% are voting for someone else. So the problem is that another 8% is a vote that could help Hillary Clinton into the White House. This election could be so razor thin that gun owners and gun rights could make the difference. Now, I mentioned polling data showing the other side is running ahead on polling on gun rights questions, and that's true. But the intensity, our people are threatened, and when they're threatened, they usually do something. So it's our job to make sure that our people turn out and vote, and that they like it or not. I mean, Trump, I'll be honest with you, I'm not in the never Trump camp that said Don Kilmer tested that he was in, Don. But he's not my first choice, second choice, or third choice, fourth choice, fifth choice. But the bottom line is Hillary Clinton is my last choice. And there's only one person on the ballot that can beat Hillary Clinton. Now, okay, and when it comes to, I don't care, but right now, the one issue I have to worry about is gun rights. That's what I'm paid to do. On gun rights, Donald Trump is going to be good. He is not going to be bad. And when it comes to judges on the Supreme Court, gun rights will be a litmus test. His two sons are real solid, and his two sons aren't going to get away with anything. He's also gone so far out on a limb on Second Amendment in his campaign that you're not going to see him flop on that. So my feeling is that if he appoints judges, the worst case scenario if we get is we don't get somebody who's, an advocate of gun rights, but we're not going to get anybody who wants to eliminate gun rights. You might get somebody who's a little ambivalent, but it's not going to be a loser. Hillary Clinton is going to use everybody there to quote-unquote overturn Heller and McDonald. She has said so in private and fundraisers. Her agenda is totally, extremely anti-gun. We don't have a choice in this election. We have to make sure we stop her. If we don't, again, the Supreme Court, and it's not just the Supreme Court, because it's, attorneys know, the Supreme Court takes very few cases every year. Most things die at the appeals court. You get a right to go to the appeals court, but you don't have a right to have the Supreme Court hear your case. And the appeals courts, in 4 years of Hillary Clinton, we will never ever win a case at the Court of Appeals in any district left in the United States. This is how critical and how important this election is. We always talk about how important elections are. For gun rights, our Second Amendment hangs on this election. There are no two ways about it. And the Democrats are trying to argue, we're really not all that anti-gun, and gun rights don't hang in the balance. Let me tell you, they hang in the balance. And so everything I worked my whole life for is on the ballot this November. If we lose this November, as a famous California senator, H. Origin used to say, you can kiss your guns goodbye. This time it's for real. So I'm going to end it with that. But before I actually go, I'm going to go to question and answers first, and then I have a surprise thing at the end. So we usually have our best interchange in Q&A. I learn from you, and you learn from me, and it usually pumps me up a whole lot. So let's just go to that while I still have time left. Yes, sir.
Quick two-part question. How likely do you think it might be, if Hillary wins, that there will be a constitutional convention? And also, how likely is it for Trump, do you know, that he would elect judges that don't utilize the doctrine of judicial self-restraint, which means basically the type of judges who say, yeah, that law is probably unconstitutional, but I'm going to let it stand. I'm going to affirm it because I don't like striking acts of Congress.
I don't think you're going to have a constitutional convention at all, so I won't waste any more time even telling you why, and that's just not going to happen. And I think, quite frankly, the judges he's going to appoint are going to be pretty decent ones. He gave out a list of people that he would appoint, or the kinds of people I will appoint, and there wasn't one judge on that list that I had an objection to. All the way to the back.
What would you recommend for us? I think we need an organized outreach to get gun owners who historically don't vote for, I don't know why I've heard that here. Mr. Schrader suggested, you can do a personal outreach to your friends, right? Take them out, take them out shooting, threaten to break their knees if they don't vote. But break their one knee and then if they don't vote, break the other. But I think we need to, we're a council here, I think we need to start having organized events. We only have until November. We need to do an organized outreach, I think, at our local grassroots level and invite people and tell them so that they take it seriously. I've invited people to this meeting, they don't show up, right? So what would you suggest?
Well, a lot of things. First of all, I look around the room. I don't see a lot of Hispanic faces. I don't see a lot of Asian faces. I don't see a lot of African American faces. That's a big chunk of the electorate. We've got to go out and reach those communities. We've got to go into those communities. And you're going to find out they're not all that unfriendly. And we've been working on some of those things. To progress here, and I'll come back. The Second Amendment Foundation has a program that I actually don't remember the name of, and we have to change the name because somebody else has the name copyrighted. But it's basically what we're calling our Urban Initiative Project. And we're working right now in Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo, New York. Those are 3 trial cities that we're playing with. We've gone into the inner cities in those 3 cities, got people who live there, who are church pastors, people that work that own a daycare center, as an example, and we're working with them and to get young people involved in shooting sports, self-responsibility, families that do things together, stay together. We brought becoming community activity-based for shared values. And we've now got this up to where I think Cleveland's probably our best example. We've got about 200 people. And in Cleveland, of the 200 of them, maybe 180 of them are African American. And we're working on, then when we're not there all the time, but they are. And so when we leave, we help them, we help fund them what they're working on, and they reach out to other people in their own community and grow and build. In Cleveland, as an example, 180 people a year ago was 20. Now it's, that's about 200, but 180 were minority people. And that's like in a year. And the idea is we don't go into the inner cities and fight back. Eventually America gets all urbanized. It doesn't stay all rural. And we're going to lose because we're in our problems right now. New York, Chicago, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, the big cities. We're moving back into those big cities, and we're going in and finding people who live there, who are in the communities that we need to win over. And we're working with them in ways to do that. Some of it is innovative, some of the things we've tried work, some of them don't work. The ones that work, we push, we continue to push. You need to do that on a local basis. So what you might want to do is, as an organization, decide, pick a city in the Bay Area with, a population that doesn't support our cause, so to speak, and go in and do something like that. And we'll help you do it. If you want to organize it, we'll help you do it. And it'll help you bring in some prominent people who are, are from minority communities who are maybe fairly well known or have contacts to help you out in those areas to help build it. But it's something we have to do. If we don't long range, the gun rights aren't going to remain forever anyway. We have to do it. So I could go on and on with other things you guys can do, but let me just leave it with that one. Yes?
What about California? We're getting totally screwed here. We don't have any help, and it looks really bad for us. I mean, they just passed a boatload of bills against us. Brown's going to be out of office, and he actually treated us pretty good, considering he's a Democrat. But, what's going to happen in the future? If Newsom gets in there, we're totally screwed. First, we had a frickin' bullet button. Now we're going to have to put fins on our pistol grips. And, it's a violation against our rights.
Well, if Newsom gets in there, I'm going to have Trump build the wall around California, not Mexico.
Take it from
I'm
Philadelphia.
gonna quote you on that, Alan.
Okay, but it's horrible. But let me go back to the good part. Jerry Brown, I'm not happy with what he's done, okay? I'm not cutting him any slack. But for the record, Jerry Brown used to be employed by me to some extent. And he was a radio talk show. He broadcast on the national network that I owned. And we got to know each other fairly well. Jerry Brown, personally, privately, is pro-gun. The problem is he's a Democrat, and he's not going to go to war with his own party. And so that's what happens. He sort of splits the baby, you know, and down the middle and gives us something, gives them something. So they don't love him anyway, but he can't, good conscience, vote for, sign everything they put there.
We got screwed this last round.
Okay, so, but if you have a Newsom, that's not going to happen. I mean, you have an enemy, you have a sworn enemy. I don't think Jerry Brown has sent one bill to the legislature, a gun bill, that he wanted them to pass. So he doesn't encourage them to do anything. But when it comes to his desk, that's when we have a problem. But his doors are open to us. He has a staff person that communicates with us. Unfortunately, you know, he takes our input, but unfortunately, you know, it's like he's a Democrat and he's got to carry their water. It's a problem. The only way to change this in California is to elect the right people. And quite frankly, winning elections is a project of addition, not subtraction. And our side has done a very good job of subtraction, not addition. We don't try to include people, we don't try to bring in people, we don't try to broaden our base. We try to narrow it by who's the purest. That's a sure way to lose, especially in a state like California. So it's, you know, it's like Ronald Reagan used to say, if you're 80% with me, you're my friend. Right now in California, if you're 60% with you, you're my friend. And you got to start moving in that direction, and our people won't do that. So the problem is, unless our people know how to fight smart, we don't win. I don't know what to tell you. But look around the room also. How many young people do you have here? Who's here under age 25? Don Kilmer, only person. I mean, there's your problems. I mean, it's a problem for us all over the country. In some places, it's worse than others. But California is one of the most diverse states in the United States. And look around the room, I don't see the diversity here.
But why don't we have a case that, you know, against the SCOTUS, against our Second Amendment and being violated at the state level?
And who's going to enforce that? If the SCOTUS...
Well, our problem is right now, you couldn't win a case in the U.S. Supreme Court. The best we're looking at a 4-4 tie, because 4 Democrat appointees are so anti-gun that you're not going to win anything. So, again, Hillary Clinton cannot be the next president. And we've got to work at broadening our bases. And I gave you one of the things we're doing with our Urban Initiative project, but why isn't, I'll be honest, why isn't every conservative group on every conservative issue out there working on an urban initiative project going into the inner cities rather than running away from them? You know, it's like, why do I bring gun rights policy conferences to San Francisco? I get yelled at by gun owners around the country. I'm not going to California. Are you kidding me? I don't want to be in San Francisco. Great, Bill, and just gave it to the enemy, and now they come back to you in your community, in your state, and fight you on your grounds. Why am I going to Geneva, Switzerland to fight the anti-gunners? Because I don't want them coming here. Let's expand our playing field on a battleground, not shrink it. Yes?
Alan, I'm going to be the optimist here. So assuming in November that Donald Trump wins, we have both the Senate and the Congress. Do you think if we get the 3 wins there, do you think that we can possibly get some kind of federal gun rights civil protection act passed? Because that's really about the something with teeth, not like that was watered out thing in 1986. Something that would say that our firearms rights are a civilly protected right, like the 1964 Act, and we take California's laws and we use those as models as what will be now civil rights violations, both with criminal and civil penalties.
Amen.
Well, I'd love to see something like that, but let me tell you what our two problems are going to be. One, in the Senate, you really need 60 votes. Because the other side will filibuster you, you won't get it through the Senate. Now, there's a way around that, and that is that in some areas, if it's germane as an amendment to some type of appropriations bill, as an example, you might be able to get it through without the 60-vote rule. But if you're looking at something that's going to have penalties like that you're talking about, or going back at states, it may be a little more difficult to do. The second problem you have is a lot of the conservatives who believe in states' rights don't want to set precedents, even though they're pro-gun. They don't want to set a precedent of saying the federal government is going to do this to shut off a state from doing something. So the question is, can you then hold your own base together in Congress based on that? And we lose some of our own people there too, both in the House and the Senate. Those are what the pitfalls would be, but obviously that's the direction we would push in.
Fair enough.
Yes, sir.
A lot of the reason for the quote, do nothing Congress is things have been dying in the U.S. Senate, and I'm not even sure you're the right person to ask this question.
Go for it.
But because of the U.S. Senate requires 60 votes to get past the filibuster, is there any movement for the Senate to, I guess, get rid of the filibuster or reduce filibusters?
You don't want to get rid of the filibuster. Because when the other side is then in control, you'd lose your rights in one day. Founding fathers are very smart in setting things up the way they set it up so that it forces things to move slower. It hurts us when we're trying to move our agenda forward, but it also stops the other side from moving their agenda against us. So sometimes the filibuster becomes your friend. It works two ways. And when there are forces out there who aren't taking your freedom, individual freedom away, maybe the filibuster could be a good thing. Okay? Yes, sir.
Going on defensive, and I was wondering about how we would determine where our elected officials are failing us. In particular, I'm thinking about district attorneys clean down gun charges and those kinds of things. How would one discover that kind of data where criminals aren't being prosecuted, but they should be under our statutes?
It's difficult sometimes to find those things out. Don Kimmer may want to jump in on this, and he's welcome to do so, because while the investigations are ongoing and we don't have to release data and things of that nature, it's hard to get. In Washington State, I'm going to give personal experience here. They passed the initiative 594 that we're suing in court over, and it's now been in effect almost 2 years, I think it is already. It's time's flying. There's been one arrest and prosecution, and the judge threw the case out of court on the grounds that the law couldn't apply in this situation, and the state didn't appeal it. In the situation, this guy was really a real criminal who got a gun he shouldn't have, and was a prohibited person to start with, but they didn't bother to the other charges against him we'll go to court on, but on the 594 charges, they got thrown out. We did under Freedom of Information in the state of Washington to every single county prosecutor in the state, wanting to know how many arrests, convictions, prosecutions, they came back as zeros. You can do that with under any other laws you wanted to find out by sending in those requests. In Washington State, what's really great for us, and I don't know what your law is in California, the attorneys in the room may want to think about this. In Washington State, on our public disclosure laws, when you make requests to government agencies, if in fact they only have a certain amount of time to respond, they have to respond to you. And if they don't respond to you accurately or in time, whatever, you can go to court for statutory damages that are written in the law. As an example, the city of Seattle, this was great. This is over a gun buyback that they did. And they didn't want to release the data of how much money the city spent on the buyback, how many guns they got, what kinds of guns they were, what they did with the guns, because they said they were going to melt it down by a statute that never happened. And so we wanted this information. And we followed the same. It was done in coordination with the city, the county, and a couple other agencies. We sent the same request to everybody. And everybody responded to some extent. And the city of Seattle, of course, hates us, and we hate them, and they didn't want to respond with much at all. And so they responded and they didn't give us all the information that they had. Except by going to the other agencies, we could show that they had information they didn't give us. Like email chains, where they didn't give us to present the emails to us when the county did, the city didn't. And so we went to court for damages. And we got awarded $37,500 against the city because they didn't give us the information. Which got them a lot of bad publicity in their gun buybacks, but gave me $37,500 plus legal fees so that I had that extra money to file their suits. So you can do things like that here. I mean, I don't know what your law in California is on recovering money or if there are any statutory damages when they don't give you the information or don't give it all to you or don't do it in a timely fashion. But there are a number of states that have those provisions in it. Washington has very good provisions with that. So does New Jersey. And New Jersey, the local gun rights group there just won, I think, close to $250,000 in statutory damages against agencies, police agencies in New Jersey that wouldn't release the information. And that for them, that funds them for a year. So there are things you can do, you just got to be creative sometimes. Yes, sir. Yeah, go for you first, and then we'll go to the gentleman in front of you next.
Two things. You already told me to bring it up during your question and answer.
Yes.
So I got to qualify that you explained about how the this thing here cannot be Indians or why the new fight says. On the I-594, the representation of governors was that we didn't try hard enough. Can you answer that in the sense of was it worth fighting? Could it have been fought? Was it? What else?
Your question to me, and you gave it to me earlier, so I'll rephrase it a little bit. And that was what you also, what could we have done differently as well, or what could we have done in arguments that may have made us have a better chance of winning it. And I can't really say there was something that we didn't do right or could have done differently. The problem was, quite frankly, one, we were too significantly outspent. So yes, we could have raised more money, except I don't know where I could have got it from. I spent a year raising several $1 million for that race, and it took a lot of my time and lost sleep to do it all. But I'm not sure there's anything we could have done to compete with when Bloomberg comes in and you have, in our case, millions and millions and millions of dollars from Microsoft, 3 or 4 key people from the Microsoft fortune, including Bill Gates, and you had Matt Bloomberg come with millions of dollars, and Warren Buffett, and all these billionaires. There's just no way we could compete with that. And they bought the ballot measure from the signatures to the voters with nice, good, slick advertising. It was very emotional, and there was no way to compete back with it. And it was a problem. And so I'm not sure we could have. Now, going to the actual arguments themselves, the problem you have here is, and I've talked to you about this before, the American people overwhelmingly support background checks. So do gun owners. So we couldn't even get, we couldn't keep gun owners even on the reservation to say no, it wasn't going to happen. The problem is the other side knowing that pushes through something that's extra draconian. So that their background checks weren't just background checks. But for example, when I picked up the M1 in the back of the room, if that was in Washington State, I would have just broke the law. Because we didn't go to a dealer first so that I could touch the gun and get a background check and pay for that background check. And that's the problem. So if we let the other side write these laws, we're dead meat. But sometimes our own people aren't smart enough to write the laws first in a way that will work. I relate this to, like, if you're a Fortune 500 company and Congress is sponsoring a law that's going to put you out of business, what do? If your lobbyists go there, rewrite the law so that you stay in business and it puts your competitors out of business. We've got to think like that too. That's the way the system works. Instead, what we do is we just no. We don't find a way to pass the law that makes everybody happy but doesn't really burn us and allows us to keep our rights, so to speak. And that's the problem. And so when we don't do those kinds of things, sometimes you have to do things preemptively and take the issues away from the other side as well. We don't do that very well. And again, a part of it is because we do have, being candid again, I'm going to call them the 2%ers that are going to yell at you as all you're all sellouts because you did that. Well, if we take the line the 2%ers take, we have no rights left. And so the question is fighting smart, and our side doesn't fight so smart a lot of the times. So we set ourselves up for that 594 initiative in Washington, and the one that's happening now in Maine, and the one that's happening now in Nevada, and on those issues. And you're going to see it in the next election cycle in places like Arizona, and it's going to spread to every state that has an initiative system. It doesn't affect you in California because you already got all that. So, but it's going to happen and spread everyplace else because we're not smart enough to know how to fight smart sometimes.
The other thing you brought up was an urban initiative, and I wanted to actually address the crowd, because somebody asked about that. I've been working as a volunteer in a range department in the area since '85, and there was 107 public ranges in the 9 area counties then. This year we're down to 16. And unfortunately, 8 of them are in this county, and we actually do have a program. The Friends of Every Dinner and so on, without grant money. We're to the point now where there's almost no Boy Scout, no ROTC, very little FFA junior programs. And what we've done is we started this program I mentioned earlier about this event where kids can learn to shoot for free to get into programs. And one thing I was going to recommend folks is that if you want to set up a chance to take these people aside, one of the store owners told me that he takes people shooting on the condition they first discuss why it is we have these rights. So we have a separation between our political business and our taking people shooting. And so if you can set up the event and reach the people, the first thing you need to do is talk to those facilities and get them to commit free time. I've got 4 that need committed to that. But with only 16 in the Bay Area, we're going to have a limited number of dates. You really need to get the facilities dates set aside with the agreement of the club or the business that runs the range. And then try and bring these people to events where you, like for our parties, we should all be bringing people there. We should have discussions about that stuff. So if people are interested in it, I've got that information. And we've got more and more grants coming. I've got guns out there.
Yeah, but again, let me go back to our urban initiative. What makes it work is we don't really do it. We go in and get the minority community to set it up. Because when we walk away and leave, we don't live there. They do. And we need to plant the roots and seeds so it grows there.
Do you need instructional support and shooting equipment to do that?
Well, yeah, we do. You do need some of that, but we're bringing in, we bring in from other places. Sometimes, a certified arms instructor who's African American to sit there and work through an African American an AME church to take the people out shooting. And the idea is that part of what we're pushing is not just guns, but self-sufficiency, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. We broaden it out, so we're bringing some of their interests as well. So that teach children in your community how to use guns properly so they don't join gangs and use gang things the wrong way. So we're working on things that mean something to them, where they live, and giving them the pulpit, so to speak, and we just give them the backup.
But it's something you can't work on here.
Yeah, it's something we have to do all over the country. I mean, it's that important. One of the things the Second Amendment Foundation has always done, and unfortunately when you're always fighting today's battle, it's a little hard to do, but we're always looking about not where the battle is today, or the playing field is today, where's it going to be tomorrow, and we want to be there before the enemy gets there. And that's something that was one of our founding principles. So instead of fighting what's going on today in today's terms, we look for the future. That's how all these court cases got here. We built the foundation with the law review articles, things in popular culture journals, in various legal things that were written, so that we'd be able to build the foundations to get to where we are legally today. We have to do that in other areas as well as the legal field too.
Last month, the Hawaii governor signed in a law, a bill that makes it so that all gun owners in the state of Hawaii are to be placed into an FBI criminal database, regardless of whether they're criminals or not. They're in a criminal database.
It's not really a criminal database, okay? If it were a criminal database, we'd be able to sue and win.
Does the Second Amendment Foundation have any plans for the future? Are they thinking about plans for the future?
It's a very good question. We looked at one of our directors on our board is State Senator Stan Sloan in Hawaii, who was the only Republican member of the whole state Senate. He's on our board, and of course he'd love to sue more than anybody. The problem is that the state giving those names to the feds if the feds requested the names or passed federal law for those names, we could sue, we could win. But the state turning them over to the feds to put into a database, not a criminal database, but to quote unquote alert so that law enforcement are people, and when they stop one of those people, the record could pop up as a flag, doesn't do us any good. We have laws like this in various states that aren't even given to the feds, but kept in the state. So, for example, if you're driving and stopped for a speeding ticket, before the police officer ever gets out of his police car to visit you, he already knows you might have a concealed carry permit or you're a registered gun owner. That's sort of what they did in Hawaii, but allowing the feds to use that as well as the state to use it, or other states to use it as well, could enter the database too. So now, like California, you find that out too. If they stop somebody in California who lives in Hawaii, they know if they own a gun instantly. But it's in a criminal database. So there's really, at this juncture, next to impossible ways to sue and win, particularly in the Ninth Circuit. So again, it's judges, and Hillary Clinton can't be the next president.
How likely is it, though, for that list of names to end up on the no-fly list, though? If some politician decides to get a bright idea and says, let's put gun owners on the no-fly list and let's start...
Being flippant with you, I don't know, because I don't know how you get on the no-fly list. I don't know how you get off the no-fly list. So who knows? These are the problems, privacy questions, and problems we all have in government databases, and in the day and age we now live in, where it's so easy to find out about people. That the government probably has data files. They probably already have all that information anyway. I don't know what to say. I mean, but we're moving in a direction that's very scary when it comes to privacy in general.
To that point, I was wondering, in some of the states, news agencies have offered to offer up gun owners' addresses and saying, here are your gun owners in your county or city or something like that. If a criminal got a hold of that information, they would be able to see who had guns, who didn't, and they could actually rob people who didn't have guns because they didn't have guns, or they could actually rob people who had guns because they knew they had guns. Is there any legal approach to protect or preemptively protect the distribution of that information because it prejudices the homeowner towards criminal activity? Is there anything that we can fight on that?
Some states have laws that protect you, and some states don't. So if you're in a state with laws that protect you, yeah, there's things you do, otherwise you can't. But
would that be a proactive thing that could be done to protect the privacy and push privacy proactively?
It didn't work in New York.
Yeah, I mean, let me say it this way. Yeah, it could be. And I have mixed emotions about it for a selfish reason. Because the best databases in the country right now on who owns a gun or supports gun rights, right now are probably in my control. And a lot of that data we got from various government agencies. They're being smart enough to know how to go in there and get the government agencies to give it to us. And that's very good for organizational purposes to protect gun rights.
Got it.
A good example is that your state group here in California now fighting the nuisance ballot measure. We just gave in 2 million names of gun owners in California with physical addresses. About half of them have email addresses. It matched through, it tells them who's registered to vote, who's not, so they get the non-registered voters to vote. It has in there those who have voted, what their voting records are, how often they turn out, when the last time they voted, how many times they voted, what party registration they are. We do a lot of data mining to help win these battles behind the scenes, and we need to protect our rights at the same time.
Can we apply culpability to them for misusing the data?
Yeah, I mean, some states have laws for that right now, so the answer is yes, it's been to push. I don't know what the laws in California are on that, but if you don't have them, work with some legislators to try to put some of those in place like that. I think it's a good idea. It's proactive. I think that has merit to it. So we're kind of lucky that a lot of the states have protections against the data, whatever. It doesn't apply to the data being requested by nonprofit orgs. Since it's the Second Amendment Foundation is a nonprofit, we're able to get it where, for-profit can't get it. And so a newspaper is for profit, and they can't have it, but we can have it. So I like when the laws get written that way, it helps me out a little bit. Yes.
Has SAF or NRA ever put forth effort to use that kind of data mining to find out why only 10% of the gun owners vote?
Why 10% of?
Why only 10% of gun owners vote? You'd think that.
No, more than 10% of gun owners vote.
They do.
Yeah, it runs between 40 and 60% depending on which state you're in.
But we were always told that if they all voted, we wouldn't have a problem in California. So obviously, there's a problem.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that if they all voted, we still wouldn't have a problem, but we surely wouldn't be as bad off as we are now. You know.
Nobody's ever tried to find out why they don't, or what incentive, how to incentivize them? Is it education? Is this all?
But the only way you get them to vote is first you got to get them registered, and that's legwork and costs money. And it's a matter of dollars. If Bloomberg was on my side, I'd be in great shape. You know, and then it's driving you to the poll. How many here have ever driven somebody to the polls to make sure they got there to vote? Only a couple hands go up.
Say that again?
How many people in this room here have driven or taken somebody to the polls to vote, to help get them to the polls to vote?
We live in a sea of Democrats. We don't.
See, only a couple people raise their hands. But see, the other side's very good about this, especially if you're in the inner city.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in an apartment building, and somebody in an apartment building is the captain chief, in order to make sure everybody in that building voted, and has a list of all the people who vote their way. We don't do that.
There's no apartment buildings full of Republicans out there.
Okay, well, but again, that's why we got to get back into the inner cities, because the other side is doing it, you know, where it can be done easily and effectively, and we don't do it at all. I mean, that's why a good example. There were precincts, you know, in Philadelphia, in the last presidential election, that voted 100% unanimously for Barack Obama, and it wasn't ballot stuffing. There was nobody there to turn our people out at all. Granted, we only had 5%, but nobody even made sure they got to the polls. We had nobody there to even do it, and that's the problem. So I'm trying to take the battle back to the enemy's playing field. Two more questions. Yours and then you. Okay.
I just want to bring up a point here. During my little break outside, there were a couple of Chicanos out there having an argument. And I kind of got into it. And before I left, those guys realized something that they didn't understand before I talked to them. They're both from the LA area. They're both complaining about the way the cops treat them down there. And I know how that is. My point is that unless you're out there in those groups, we're not going to win the culture war. You've got to get into that culture at the ground level, and I think that's where we're going to win. Not with the politics, not with the laws, not with the money, but the people themselves. And if these people in here are so adverse to breaking outside their group, you're going to lose. Like you had pointed out, we're a bunch of old farts in here talking about stuff that's happening on the streets.
But by the way, thanks. So you remind me, as I want to say, we're talking about polling data, how we're sliding in the polls, like gun rights questions and all. The one area we're not sliding is millennials. Young people support gun rights. But they're not one of them in the room. Nobody under 25 besides Don Kilmer. I mean, the problem is they support us, but they don't do anything. See, and part of it is that maybe we have to drag them in and get them involved.
You need to give them an app for that.
Put it on their phone.
Put it on their phone.
Put it on their phone. Okay. One more question. Yes, sir.
I guess I'll hold to something, but when you read the Second Amendment, right at the beginning there, and these politicians all take the oath to uphold the Constitution. Why can't we legally sue these people that campaign on going out and doing away with the Second Amendment?
I get this question almost every day someplace where I'm traveling. Because the courts will say, you can sue, anybody can sue, but you won't win. The reason is the courts are going to say your remedy is vote them out of office.
That's right.
That's right.
I think that's your remedy, and the courts aren't going to get engaged in that. They're going to say your remedy is vote them out of office, it doesn't belong in court, dismissed.
But we have the Constitution. I thought that was
one of the,
Your remedy is to vote them out of office.
There's no way to do civil penalty or something for them breaking into the line?
Your remedy is to vote them out of office. Okay, one more question. This is too good.
If you keep up with recent discussion here about the remedy what if, as Nikki had suggested before, that we had a law that said the violation of our gun rights was equivalent to the violation of civil rights, along the 1964 Civil Rights Act, that would give us additional basis for lawsuit? Would that help?
What's the question? Yeah, it could be if we had a law like 1964 Civil Rights Act that would put penalties for people who violated their civil rights. Would that help? And the answer is yeah, it would help.
But isn't that what Nikki was suggesting, that we, what I was kind of...
Yes, it would help. But the problem is getting it through to pass. There's a couple of obstacles that we have in getting that done.
Right now, it seems to be a difficult task, but what if we made that a long-range project? I mean, folks here, Second Amendment violation, additional groups around the country, what if we did that? What if we were able to...
Well, let's say after the November election, if Trump is president and the Republicans keep control of the Senate, we should start pushing it then.
Yeah.
Not saying you're going to get it through, but sure we're pushing it. Okay, now, do I have more
Surprise?
Do I have more questions?
What's in the bag?
Okay, one more question and then we'll go to the back. Yes.
the Democrats have professed their hatred of the Protection of Lawful Commerce in the Arms Act. What I read, there's no real basis in American law anyway to hold gun manufacturers responsible for criminal acts of third parties. So how likely do you think it is that the Democrats could actually get the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act repealed? And do you think subsequent lawsuits would be successful anyway?
Well, if they were, again, they have the same problem we have in the Senate. They need 60 votes. They're not going to have that. Okay, so it's not going to happen. But if they were somehow successful in being able to overcome that burden, and they'd also need to control the House, which they're not going to have. So if Hillary Clinton is there in the White House, that's not going to happen. So that's a good thing. Let her scream about that. She's there. Let us help organize our troops because she's attacking us with it, and she's not going to win, and we're going to get bigger and stronger because we have something we can yell about. But the bottom line is that, and you're right, I mean, there is nothing in jurisprudence to hold somebody responsible for somebody misusing, a legitimate, product. On the other hand, it depends how you write the law. If it's a dangerous product that, quote unquote, they should have known could have been misused, and they write it in certain ways, it gives the whole judges a way to say, okay, you're guilty.
Sandy, that lawsuit went through, it's going through right now.
Okay, no more questions?
Can I just...
Okay, tell you what, we'll do my little goes in the bag, and then if you have more questions afterwards, you can ask them. How many people, I'll come back to questions in a minute. How many people here have read any of Brad Thor's novels? Brad Thor, New York Times best-selling author. 1, 2, 3, and half a dozen. Has any of you read his new book, Foreign Agent, that just came out? Okay, here's the deal. His books are great. They're thrillers on the international, terrorism type scene. They're really good stuff. And he uses the same main character in the book, or a couple of key main characters in the book that are really good characters. So if you read one of the books, you then want to read all the other ones because they're all really pretty cool. But this particular one is signed by Brad Thor. But more importantly, I'm a character in the book. I'm not going to tell you what I do in the book, but what I'm willing to do is I'll also autograph the book to you. Brad Thor's autographed it. I'll autograph it to you as well, and it's, saying, no, if you like me, it's the character in it. But I'm going to auction it off, the proceeds going to Golden State Tech Amendment Council so you guys can use the money locally. Okay? It's not the first time I've been picked on or been used as a character in the book. This is the fourth author that's done this. It used me as a character. 2 others had me as villains. 1 author had me as a hero. And I won't tell you what Brad Thor has done with me. Okay, so how about you auction? You're a better auctioneer than I am, I bet.
Now, the question is, do we want to auction this tonight? Or do we want to auction this, for example, at our barbecue?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I have another one in my car. So I'll give you both of them.
Okay.
And we'll do one tonight, and you can do one in your barbecue.
Fell into my trap.
I fell into your trap. I have 2 autographed copies of Brad Thor, and I can autograph both of them. The one I'll autograph for your barbecue, though, won't be to a person. It'll just have my little quote and signature put on it.
Put something in the left, or something like that.
I'll put something in like, I hope you like the character I played in the book or something. Okay? So you would auction it off. You're probably a better auctioneer than I am.
We're going to do this auction now. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I have before us a piece of literature, not just any literature, but we have a piece of literature that is destined to go down in history as seminal text of Western civilization. Greater in circulation than the Quran. Greater in circulation than the Bible. And dare say I, the greatest piece of literature of all time. And tonight, you have the opportunity, a rare opportunity, a one and only opportunity, to be the owner of this piece of history.
Cut them off, $50.
Let's go.
Yes.
Also, up back here, you got 20, 25.
Okay, I've heard so far 20, I've heard 25, I've heard 50, I've heard 60. Now I've heard 60, do I hear any more? Do I hear 60? I see 100. 110. I have 110 over here, 110, and things are getting better as a day. Now, 110 for a piece of history is not enough, so this gentleman says 120. 120. Now, think about it this way, ladies and gentlemen, this is a once and only opportunity of a lifetime, $120. How many things in life do you think there are $120 for a one-time only opportunity? I mean, we could put together a consortium of people to pay even more than $120. This document is not only just written, but it's signed, not by one, but by 2 people. Now, how many of us do you think we can get off credit register?
121.
$121. I see over the gentleman over here on the right. 140 over here, and he's pushing the envelope here. I think we're out here with $40, but I can't talk this fast because I've never been trained to do this before. So, I see 200 here from the gentleman from the NRA. This fine gentleman from the NRA hat who steals my money every year at the barbecue. And here we have it.
If we don't get better bids, I'm gonna put on one of those hussy dresses.
And ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to see those hairy legs and fishnet stockings. It is an ugly sight. It is something that will impact you for the rest of your life. So, I see right now, how much we see so far? What was the last bid? 200. 200 going once. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Once. Never to occur again. Not even in a barbecue. Going once. 220. 220 for the ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit of history about this gentleman in the blue over here. This is a gentleman who's scaled Mount Everest not once, not twice, but he's attempted it 5 times. 5 times. And this gentleman here has now climbed Mount Everest and earning this book here. $220. Do I hear 225? 225 to the gentleman over here in the NRA hat. By the way, this gentleman over here in the NRA hat has taken more money from me over the last 5 years. Someone needs to make him pay more. Do I hear me? Sir, this cost, you're now paying a price now for all these years of taking my money broken the 300 barrier, we also have a bumper sticker to go with it. If we make the 350, I will barbecue the muffins of your choice, and I make great muffins. Blueberry. Have you ever heard of Elvis muffins?
Will you show your...
Elvis muffins? Peanut butter and chocolate. No, peanut butter banana, excuse me, peanut butter banana muffins. I've got muffins that go for blueberry, I've got cranberry, I've got kiwi banana muffins, all for the person who goes to $350. $350 is down there with. This is hard work. People do this stuff. We have a plea from Mr. Gottlieb here. He's got to go home soon, so he needs to know. Is 350 the top bid? Going once? Going twice?